Hi, we're here in the Hollywood Hills with an amazing team from the music world. In the past, I've done videos where masterminds of people in the spiritual world and business world have met up, and this is my first time doing it in the music world. We have TyDi from Australia. We have Drew Morrissey from How to Rap on YouTube, who has the #1 rap school for education, teaching me how to rap. We have CyFyre, who has worked with amazing rappers like TyDi, who did a music video here at our house. Purps from 808 Mafia, making amazing beats, including beats for Migos. We have Nosam, whose music you'd recognize if you're a follower of BPM on Sirius Satellite Radio. And we have Jalen, Latin American rapper who went on tour with Enrique Iglesias and now has his own record label. And then you have me, who's trying to utilize this inspiration of awesome people for a hip-hop Broadway musical that we've been developing. We just got back where some of you joined me in San Francisco, where we were watching the hip-hop musical, hip opera of Hamilton, and sharing ideas about how we should kind of take the creative direction of our music to the next level. So what I'd love to have you guys do, first of all, is talk about who you are in the music world from the standpoint of what do you think is the most inspired moments of your career that has led you to create awesome art?
Okay, I guess I'll start. I want to say that I think the best thing that probably happened to me was growing up broke and trying to get in as a teenager into the biggest Latin festivals there was. And so in one of those festivals that I jumped the fence because I didn't have the money to pay the fee to get in, I happened to meet some guys from a very famous Latin group at the time, Ilegales. And then
you jumped the fence?
I did.
That's sick.
I did. I didn't have the money to pay to get in, so I jumped the fence, landed in the VIP, and met some guys. Right? So anyway, one of those guys happened to be this guy named Lenny, who was from that group, very influential, and that led to Enrique. So I met those two guys, and they were definitely very influential in my career because they were so successful and yet so humble, and then took me around and really took me literally from the streets into a recording studio, you know. So that was kind of like my first moment where I was like, oh shit, I got a shot, you know, I can start doing this. And the second was just picking up a guitar, just, I mean, I knew I could play by ear, piano and other instruments, but I was scared of the guitar. And then finally I picked up a guitar and went to the Miami-Dade Public Library, because again I was still broke, and read a book, Guitar for Dummies, and I wrote my first song 3 days later, and eventually that song sold a few million records and we traveled the world.
Holy shit.
That's big. Yeah. I think you win.
Wow, who am I sitting next to?
You win, dude. That's crazy.
Well, I don't think we should continue anymore. That's it. That's off it all.
Wow.
Oh yeah, for me, pretty much someone messaged me saying your music sounds like burning garbage about 4 years ago.
About that.
and I was just like, what an asshole, and it was anonymous. You know, of course it's anonymous. So I think from that point, like, I was kind of pissed because I got a couple of messages like that, and I realized someone told me like, hey, it's because you're actually doing something and people don't want you to, you know, get what you're doing out. Even though my music at the time was not that good, now that I listen to it, it did inspire me. And a lot of negative things that people have done to try to stop me from music is what I think has built me up. Like, I had a friend one time that, sorry, my phone. He came over to my house and he deleted all my software off my computer behind my back. Wow. And yeah, sorry, he was a good friend. Sorry, again, TyDi is responsible for all this.
It did sound like burning garbage.
Yeah, he deleted everything, and you know, luckily I was able to recover it through the time thing in the computer. But it's just multiple events like that where, you know, getting up to where I am now, just people have tried to stop me, and either abruptly or like low key.
Here's the question: where are they now?
Yeah.
One of them's married now and I think got divorced.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I mean, everyone, it happens to everyone, but
life lessons.
The guy that deleted all the software off my computer, he tried to be a model, and then now he works at a sushi bar, I think. But you know, I hope the best for him. You know, it's no hard feelings. You know, because if stuff like that, those events leading up, it wouldn't have made me, I guess, stronger.
Yeah.
And more, you know, whatever.
That's great though. You're
I can't even think of the words.
You were inspired by the haters.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's something, you know, I think too, especially like when I was younger, my dad was really, when I lived with him when I was 18, he was really against it, and he actually like threw my computer off the table because he was sick of me being on my computer. And so stuff like that too, it's led up to it, and now, you know, I'm able to produce and do whatever I want, and then got a collab coming out with this guy
Playing
soon.
his computer games again.
Yeah.
That's not real music.
Yeah, you're
Back in my day, they had a guitar.
playing those games again. I'm gonna shut that down.
And when my dad listens to me play EDM, he wonders what's wrong with my car. He thinks I have engine trouble.
No way. I've heard that before. Dubstep sounds like a broken car tire engine. I've heard people say that, and it's just, you know, everyone's got their
I grew up
opinion.
in Miami, so that's, you know, that's the thing. Dubstep, house music, electronic.
Oh, dubstep is really big.
Yeah.
Oh, in Miami, yeah, of course.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I thought DJ Khaled was big there.
Burning garbage.
Hey, we have Ultra Winter Music Conference.
Yeah.
Let's
Your
forget
thoughts?
about
Yeah, I was
that.
supposed to be going there with Bilo
Yeah,
to Ultra.
I would say what made me realize that I should pursue this career is I met with Waka Flocka when he was first coming up, and he was just like just a mixtape rapper and stuff, and we just went to a session, and literally we just heard, you know, a couple people were at the session, so we literally just went to the session, to the studio, and we're like, yo, like, we got some beats, and they're like, who are you guys? And we're like, we got some beats, like, we're gonna make some shit. So we basically sat outside the pool waiting for him, and then they eventually like invited us down to play some records, and then when they heard the records, they were just like, oh, whoa, this is crazy. And then 2 weeks later, I was on the album, and then they flew us out to Atlanta, they tried to sign us, they did all this thing, and then in the process of me being in Atlanta, I had met Lex Luger, Southside, Mike Will Made It, all these up-and-coming producers, and I built a relationship with Southside, and pretty much when he came up with 808 Mafia, him and Waka, I was like the first person they hit up, like, yo, you're gonna join our group and we're about to take over. And I'm like, bro, you guys are my bros. Anything you guys want, man, I'm rocking with it. And then that was probably my first break. And then I think what made me want to venture out from that is when I met Jamie Foxx. And he heard my music through just me being in the studio, and he came in the studio and he was just like, yo, who made this beat? And then they're like, yo, that's Purps, he made the beat. And they're like, he's like, bro, I need you, bro. Like, come to the studio all the time. And I'm like, cool, of course. I'm in a mansion. I'm coming here every day. So we ended up doing some stuff. We did the Chanting All Over Your Tatum that was on Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah, I remember that.
And we did that record. And so that was kind of where I was like, yo, I'm going to broaden my horizons and do like everything. And it's just been kind of like this thing that just constantly little things have elevated and
Evolve.
it's just been a journey, and I just keeping positive and just moving, you know. That's pretty much my story, honestly.
So tell me about the most inspired moments of your music career that have led you to become who you are today.
Shoot, inspiration music-wise. I mean, starting out, like, I worked with a lot of independent artists, and I still work with a lot of independent artists too. So I really learned something from everyone that I work with. I work with a lot of different producers, I collab with people. I learned shit from beginners. I learned shit from like veterans or whatever, people on major labels and shit that I work with too. You know, so it's just always, to answer the question, like the inspiration is like kind of new every day in some sorts of ways, because with all the technology and just all the different vibes I get to interact with and shit, I think that the inspiration just keeps growing, you know.
And when was the first time you knew that, like, oh shit, I can do this?
Shit, I started making beats like 2008, and I've been doing it ever since.
Yeah.
Every day. I haven't had another job or nothing like that. I just been doing beats every day. Yeah.
What's your go-to DAW?
I fuck with Ableton and Logic.
Okay.
I use everything for something. I use FL for a couple things. I use Bitwig for a couple things, and I use Pro Tools for like vocals and shit.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, well, me, I guess there's two. Like, first, as an artist myself, like, people take it for granted right now that people can rap and freestyle or whatever, but I can still remember that first day, you know, being able to freestyle, and the way that I did it, like freestyle rap, I pretty much like practiced for like 3 months in my shower without telling anyone until I was like decent enough that, you know, I could impress the kids in the cafeteria or whatever.
How do you practice freestyling? Sorry to butt in.
Oh, well, you know, gotta go to howtorapdrew.com and sign up to get that info.
Okay.
Oh no, we spent hours yesterday practicing freestyling and flow.
Just because it's like freestyling is something that's always blown my mind. The rapping is, I could never do it to save my life.
Yeah.
But it's so impressive.
Well, I mean, I guess to give you like a little bit, like let's start with a little start.
Yeah.
One really good way is to memorize rhyme schemes so that when you're about to freestyle, most people think I'm just spontaneously saying words.
Yeah.
But if I memorize TyDi, why try, fly guy, my tie, you know, my size, whatever, I'm living in a high rise, wearing tie-dyes with motherfucker, you want beef? Here's 5 guys. Oh!
And then that's already amazing. That just blew my mind. So
Get the 5 guys.
then you get
You see what I'm saying?
so you get that rhyme scheme,
So
and
now I
then
know that rhyme scheme.
yeah.
So I can freestyle that multiple times, or when I have more mental RAM to think of what to say.
That's such a good way of putting it. Mental RAM.
Yeah. Like so, I'm
Like
mental.
2 terabytes up there.
Yeah.
RAM.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Clear up them terabytes.
And then putting it in context would be a certain thing as well. Like, I mean, because you can rhyme stuff, but then you'd have to, on the fly, think about how to get it into the context of what the topic is.
Yeah, and usually what I would say there with my beginning students is have 3 or 4 contexts or topics. You're like home base. So you know where you're from, girls, money, like simple things that everyone's gonna laugh at. You know, rap, beef, like even there, you saw me, I kind of made some punchlines about like beefing with rappers or money, like shit like that, right? So.
Do you have beef with anyone right now? Or should we start some?
No, Sam. Starting now.
Hey, get out of here.
Hey, man.
You just started something.
Yeah, right? I think I'm about to tweet. I think I'm about to tweet about that.
Shit. I'm doing it right now.
You just stay right there. Hold on.
What's your tweet handle?
Yeah, exactly. How do I at you? But so anyway, yeah, freestyling. And the first time I did it, and somebody was like, "Oh," like that sound.
Yeah.
It just can't be recreated. You know what I mean? It's popping your cherry. You know, lyrically. Whoa, bro. Then, other than that, I would say, God. Oh yeah.
And
like,
by the way, it's not a lost art form. There's still
Right, of
rappers
course.
that are still
Amazing.
that take pride on that. That still read dictionaries.
Right.
Some of them.
Yeah. And Rhyme Zone.
Very
like,
few.
There's websites, all that, and also. First time my rap channel, my rap coaching actually had people like reaching me out to me, you know? Like a little white girl from like Cleveland was like, I want to learn how to rap, but nobody believes in me. And I watch your channel and like, it was just amazing. I was like, wow, like I thought I was just gonna be talking to your average, you know, brother from the hood who wants to get their bars up. And I realized there was a real potential for that. So those 2 experiences cannot be recreated, you know, and they're with me forever, you know, so.
Have you gotten like any hate really quick before we go inside?
Yeah.
Like hate messages, because that's something I see all the time. It's either like, hey, can we collab, or like,
yeah, or like,
your stuff sucks, like.
You know, the best is the when people like roast me, because I think they're funny. Like
I noticed that people make videos about your videos sometimes.
Oh, really? Hold on, I didn't know.
I saw one where they're like, "How Rap Drew says this, but I say you do it this way."
What? I've never seen it.
That was me again.
You again?
That was TyDi.
Yeah, I know. I recognize it.
He's
It's like
the
Australian
Illuminati of
accent. Where have I heard that Aussie accent before? No, I mean it's like the best was, "Are you Tiger's dad? You look like a squirrel."
Gee, that one cuts deep.
Yeah, right.
Well, 'cause nuts and stuff.
Yeah, you know.
But yet they tune in every time. They
Right,
watch,
exactly.
They click.
Yeah, exactly. That's why.
So it's all good.
But no, I love them. I think they're really funny, and it's kind of part of that being a public figure is like having people joke. You know what I mean? Like the worst is indifference. I'd rather them like, you know, emotionally react than, you know, be indifferent. So
You just reply like, "Yes, let it out.
yeah,
Let it out in a freestyle."
yeah, exactly. Which watch my training to learn how to diss me properly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Subscribe.
So.
Turn it into money.
Yeah. What was the question? No, I remember. I'm just messing with you. Yeah, no. So I was that kid in school who was, I guess, a little bit like the loser. You know, everyone else was like you got the jocks. It sounds like a story from a movie, but you know, you have the jocks and you have the people who can like skate and like the badass people. I was the kid that would go to the music room at lunchtime because I was afraid of people throwing food at me. I'm not kidding. Like I was like the bullied kid. And it was, I don't know, it was just a terrible kind of thing. I didn't want to go to school. I just was like, what? So I would go and to the music room and I would listen to, like, back then when the internet connection was just bad, I'd listen to like BBC Radio 1 and there was like dance music on the radio. And at the time I was drumming and I had this intention of drumming in a rock band. And I heard this electronic music and I thought, wow, I can make that like myself. Like, you can do that on a laptop. You can do that on your own. And so, you know, through the years of like high school, while everyone was just giving me shit for just being that guy that I just didn't fit in. I wasn't the norm, I guess. In Australia, it's like you surf, you're cool. It's like, you know, the girls all want this kind of person. I'm that loser guy. And then, so I spent a lot of my like final years in high school just making electronic music on my own, and it formulated into this album that I called Shooting Stars. And it went to #1 on iTunes Dance for Australia, which, like, you know, maybe now these days things are different. Back then it was crazy. I was a student, and I would go to school and be this like kid in school that really didn't have any kind of clique or friends. And then on the weekends I would be asked to fly to a different city and play a show to 2,000 people as a DJ. And I was like, kind of, wow, like if you really, that's when I thought to myself, if you're really passionate about something, you can, and you focus all your attention on it, you can get it. And that taught me, I guess, what I still practice today, because I'm doing some crazy things today where, you know, the way we're talking, you know, like after 11 years of touring the world, I've been touring everywhere from India to Russia to Argentina to Canada and here and whatever. And now I'm like, all right, I want to work with a live orchestra. I want to work with 120 people and I want to compose for every one of these people. And it sounds like a really ridiculous idea, but that's just as ridiculous as it felt when I was in high school and thought that I could make electronic music that would compete internationally. And I wasn't trying to be competitive. I was just trying to make something that I loved, and it worked for me, and I got very lucky and I got to tour the world. And so that life lesson has stayed with me about always just being passionate about what you do and loving it. And no matter how many people try to bring you down about it, they don't count. If you care and you love something enough and you're really passionate enough about it, you really can achieve it. And it sounds a cliche, you know, it sounds like something you see in the movies, but it's the truth. And I bet you'll find everyone here who's successful and done something incredible will have found that success it hasn't come from someone giving it to you. It's come from really just loving what you do and being passionate in what you do.
Well, the self-actualization experience that you talk about, I feel, is a common bound for pretty much anyone at a level of success that you have to be at in pretty much any kind of industry. For me, I got into the music world in terms of wanting to do music videos and a musical was because of the narrative of being beat down from the mainstream media and social media and organizations like Anonymous. Yep. Yeah, the stuff that wasn't just the truth of who, or at least my understanding of the truth. You know, the media can define you or you can define it. And that kind of beat down also of not getting the girl I wanted in my life or having a great success in dating life. And that kind of went to my company and turned to me wanting to control my own narrative and story. Now, each of us have had to go through some kind of identity level change process. And for the music world, that, you know, presentation and art comes from some emotion or passion that's hit your life. So I'm curious about what each of your story was in terms of a self-transactional or self-actualizing process that you went through. I've heard some of your stories from that standpoint, but I would love for you to share it with each other too.
The super short version of it is right before that whole thing happened where I was homeless and all that. Before that, I came from nothing, and then I done something by meeting up with the right folks and whatever and getting put on, but I was so young and so dumb. And so I, you know, blew the money, this and that, whatever, and then boom, 9/11 happened. Holy shit. Then everything just really shut down. And Miami's a tourist town, so I had to restart and that restarting for me meant from like touring to like washing dishes at Bubblegum Shrimp, Bubblegum, what up, and sleeping on a park, and like just praying every day for a miracle. And so a miracle came in the form of someone actually handed me a book, and this book is really more spiritual or anything than it is religious, because you hear the titles, Conversations with God, but it's really not about, yeah, it's really not necessarily just God or whatever. But anyway, so that book changed my mindset, my mentality, and that's when I discovered, in one way or another, we always talk about the same thing, positivity, you know, law of attraction. I discovered that through that book, and that just like, it was like somebody turned on a switch, and then my life completely took off from there on. So my next moment was reading something in the newspaper that said actor needed, and taking off with that, I booked that casting, and it was the launch of Microsoft Windows XP and the Xbox, and I was the host of that, and I performed the Welcome to Miami song. So Will Smith, big ups. And so I performed that record, I introduced Bill Gates, and then at that moment on stage, I said, holy shit, anything is possible.
Wow.
So then
He's doing this as a homeless guy.
yeah, I was homeless.
You're living on a bench.
You're blowing my mind right
You know?
now.
Yeah. And I was, and big ups to DJ Irie also, who was the DJ with me while I was hosting. He was DJing, who's still one of my great friends. And anyway, bottom line is that moment, I think, was very integral, because then I realized, like, holy shit, this is attainable, and I can do this, you know. And then once that happened, literally every week from there on, something major happened, like the movie Ali. I worked in that film, and then Bud Light hired me for a $25,000 commercial 3 weeks after that. And so everything just kind of like took off, and then eventually the records with Toque de Queda, and that led to 10 years of touring the world and doing a bunch of other stuff, and you know, meeting guys like these guys, like moments like these throughout the whole time, also changed my
By the way,
life.
how cool is it touring the world? Like when you go from such a, your story is really beautiful, and like when you go from that to then touring the planet, and you realize how small the world really is.
Yes.
Like how much knowledge, you know, we sit in the classrooms as kids, and we think we know a lot until you see every part of the planet, and you really realize, like, you learn so much more just by seeing the world.
100%. And the
Definitely.
cultures, the people, the food. And remember, I just come from where I came from, so every time I landed in a different country or whatever, and we were in these 5-star diamond hotels, blah blah blah, I leave, take a fucking bike, and go to the hood, because I just came from there.
Yeah.
So I'd go and hang out with, you know, with the locals. They'll cook for me, this and that, and so I have lasting friendships that have lasted, you know, years and years. And some of those kids that I inspired along the way, they've become these major promoters and booking agents that are booking Bruno Mars or something, you know, in these foreign countries. And so now I have these contacts and this network that you can't buy, you know. This is just legit, you know, like real people, real friendships.
Building up true friendships.
True friendships.
It's one of the biggest things is networking. Is like, people want to just network to get connections. Like, you got to build up a friendship, you know, and then if it works out networking, it does. You can't force it, you know. But
I like how you went into the hoods and kind of understood the local culture of the majority of the class of people, because I feel like you could go really deep in that. You know, I've done that world tour. I've been to Algeria, and instead of trying to go to the nicest restaurants, even though it's considered a dangerous place, it might be way close to Al-Qaeda territory, I was going into the Casbah and just walking up to the carpenter, becoming friends with him, having dinner with him and his family cooking for me, and just trying to get to know the local culture. I think that's really cool.
It's truly how you experience the people, you know? And once you get that, I think you like, I've been through every layer of society, so I can be a chameleon. You know, I've sat down with billionaires for business, and it's no different than sitting down with, you know, the kid that was, you know, doing whatever on the street, you know?
I'll never forget the story of when I played in India, and I was on my way to a show to play to 10,000 people, and on the way to the show, we went past all the slums, and there were children begging for money and things like that, and it was life-changing because I was in a limousine, I was in a stretch limo, and I said I felt so, I didn't know, the feelings were so confusing and hard to deal with, to think that I'm going to the stage to play to 10,000 people and there's children just begging to survive. That was something that made me feel, and I will never forget to this day, feel always grateful for anything, the simple things. But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to jump in.
No. It's wonderful because, again, I'm not speaking for everybody, but I'm sure that everybody feels the same way. At the end of the day, once you have success and you look back, you see other people that are caught up in a rat race, right? They're caught up in an inner circle, and the problem is that they'll never get out because they lack the knowledge that we have, that which to us is common knowledge, right?
Mm. Which is what I was just gonna say is the beauty of conversations like this is because we're able to, and the beauty of internet is we're able to, free of charge, finally get some of these messages out that 10 years ago, you know, us in harder situations, we just wouldn't have access to a round table of truly successful people have come from the bottom, you know? So I think that's also beautiful, you know? Yeah, let's go. There you go. But yeah, you know, I mean, I think that another level of gratitude along with like seeing it is being in a position now where we're all able to give it out, you know, and that's the other sort of related to that feeling of the first time I freestyled. And part of the reason I like freestyling, and I'll bring it back to this topic, is it's fun for me, but it's fun for everyone else. And it's one of the only things I can do that's like pure value. As good as I feel doing it and thinking of that funny rhyme, the world does too. And the same, I think that's part of the reason I started How to Rap, honestly. It was a similar reason. I was like, well, if I can't go to the slums of X country, but I know they love rap or they love music, what's the next best thing I could do? I could start a YouTube channel, I could shoot videos, I could tell them everything I know from the first day I wrote a rhyme listening to Jay-Z all the way up. Yeah. So, you know, I think that's part of it too, that education base, you know, and what Nick does on this channel. As well.
Yeah, thank you for that, Nick.
Yeah. Cheers.
I think for me, you know, I just remember even though it's written on my bio, like I used to ride the train up to LA because I want to be in this scene so much of music and be around it. And where I lived in Orange County, I was living with my dad, and we were living in a tiny apartment. And so I didn't even have money at this point either. And I would ride the train for free pretty much and try not to get caught about 7 years ago. And I remember one time all I had was like my backpack and my longboard. And this was back when FL Studio just came out on the iPhone. And at the time I wanted all this, like I love music and producing it, but I didn't have the equipment. I was like, look, I need this equipment. And I'd tell myself that like I need to get all this equipment to make good music. And what it came down to is just really using what you have. And that's what I think helped me develop, you know, these different sounds and different stuff, was doing it on my phone, because FL Studio came out on the phone, and I got it from Guitar Center, this keyboard that plugged into my phone. It was on sale for like, I think 10 or 20 bucks. And so I was on the train and I'd ride the train for free. And I'd be on my keyboard producing this music. And I think that's what gave me the variety, because I explored all the options, because there weren't a lot of options producing music on that. So I went through everything way more. And then I remember got to the point where I couldn't ride the train more because they took a picture of me and they caught me. And there's one guy, what I would do is I go to the top floor and I'd see the ticket guy coming around, and I'd go past him, go down, and then go back around where he already checked and sit there. And finally one time they caught on to me, and I remember I was going back to where I was staying, and around like, I think it was like Norwalk or Norway? Yeah, they call it like Norway, I think. But around there they kicked me off, and they wouldn't let me back on. I remember I was just screwed, and like I had to come get a friend come pick me up, and so, but
that was the moment you probably say, I gotta make it in this business.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and at the time too, like no one ever even heard my music, and I was just putting it on the internet, and that's around the time too when I got, you know, messages like saying it sounds like burning garbage, stuff like that. But
by the way, you do get creative, just so you know. That's a great point that you just made. You know, a lot of people make excuses about, you know, the tools they have and this and that, and at the end of the day, my first beat was on the Xbox. You know, that was the beat that got me into with a Grammy Award winning producer, and then he took it to the next level, right? But the point is that is a good point that you're making to the people, so that they can understand that you know, it's about your talent. Yeah, like, you know. I always say this metaphor, and I want to make sure that, you know, no one takes it the wrong way, because I might have some heritage in my background, so I can say it. But it's not the arrow, how sharp it is, that kills you. Is the Indian pointing it. You know, like when you're, you know, if you're the tool that you use. It's not the tool. It's the person using it. So
and also like us explaining this too helps people realize what they can do in their surroundings. Because when I was using my iPhone, I was set on, like, man, like I can't make a hit song or any good music because it's on an iPhone. And then the Gorillaz released an album the fall, and I was listening to it. I'm like, this is so good. And I looked into it, and they made the complete album on an iPhone and an iPad. And I looked up all the apps, and I was like, okay, they use this app and this app. And it just goes to show they made a hit album on an iPhone. And at the time, I was like, I need a computer, which I couldn't afford. So I was working at pretty much a grocery store, juice bar. That's
an interesting
working
point
inside your realm
about hit songs in general, is because a lot like hits. The word hit is just obviously means that the song is successful. But to get a hit, it requires really just two things, and that's just a brilliant vocal, a brilliant top line, very cleverly written over the right production. And often, if you listen to the biggest hits, the production is very simple, it doesn't require much, and the top line is a lot of work. There's a lot of work that goes into making something clever. And some things that sound simple, I think people go, oh, that's like, why is that a hit? Like, it shouldn't be a hit. But it is, because it's very cleverly thought out, or sometimes lucky. Sometimes 2 hours and someone goes, oh, I don't know if this is a hit, but it turns out to be a hit. There's something special about that word.
Yeah, I think one thing that is important also to note is that when it comes to, for the producers that may be watching, or young songwriters or whatever, that you just made a great point about, is that, look, a song is a song at the end of the day, right? So of course, depending on the you know, if you're doing trap, hip hop, then of course you need a banging beat, you know, so depending on the genre. But when it comes to a song, if you got the right melody with the right top line, you know, and that could be just an acoustic piano, could be just a guitar, it could be just a, you know, a cajon, right? It doesn't matter at the end of the day if the record is beautiful, meaning clever. Like
there's something that connects.
Yeah,
and there's something that connects with a lot of people, and there's no. I feel like after 11 years of doing this, there's no answer to it. There's no method or ability. You could not host a class on how to make a hit. You know, you could tell people the 4 chords.
You can on how to make a great song, though.
The 4 chords, or you could tell people.
But also, I think going to school for it's not. You know, it's some people it's good for, some people it's not. So many people have filters of what to expect to hear in a certain genre, and that's one thing I appreciate about being in the studio with this guy is I've learned, you know, weird noises and new noises are good, and I've always had that filter where I'm like, no, this genre, that doesn't work. So I've sort of played around with it, and it's like, you gotta just keep trying it and trying it. Like, you should have no barriers or anything. You shouldn't listen to some, you shouldn't listen to Tiesto or someone and be like, oh, like it needs to sound like this, like the snare needs to sound like this. Yeah, it's good to
cross genres. They always mix 2 genres or 3 genres together, and it gets a lot of audience, because a lot of other audiences will relate to it. They'll be like, you can get these type of fans and all those fans and all these fans. That's why they mix the EDM with the trap stuff, because you got all the hood people that mess with it, and then you got all the regular people that are international, and you're bringing things together, and it makes a new sound. A lot of the greatest people in the history of the music did that. The Beatles did that. Everybody did that. They crossed genres, and it created something new.
Beatles did trap?
Yeah, they did trap.
It's like what we're doing with hip hop in the musical world. You got the old school musical people in the hip hop world.
The main thing is doing what you feel, though. You know, not. It's good to listen to other artists and get an idea, but do what you feel. Don't try to make exactly like their sound, because you're not them, and you know they have their specific sound.
Now in musicals, though, just make sure. I mean, you're doing a musical. It is about the lyrics. You are telling a story. You are telling a story.
What Nosam was just saying is a really good point, is that a lot of people, like young people out there that are trying to get into music, they think if I copy this artist, or if I replicate it, I'll also have a hit. That's the exact opposite way. That is
and they hashtag it. That is precisely the.
And that's why all these kids remix these new hit songs, and they just do it like that.
That's how you fail, because the thing is, you know, if you throw a few names out there, like Avicii, he made levels, right? We're talking a long time ago, obviously. But if you tried to make another levels back then, it's not going to work, and no label will sign it, and no one will care because levels exists. It has been made. It's like a statue. If you create a statue, it looks a certain way, and then someone comes along and says, "Oh, I'm going to make a similar one." No one will care because it's the same. It's
your Apple.
It's been.
Touche.
So I think the message that I was trying to get out there is that the way to maybe succeed.
You get like a cease and desist notice from Apple.
I don't know the exact truth, but or the there's no exact answer, but to win is not to copy. It's the exact opposite. It's to try and think of an original idea that no one's thought of yet, or especially not just try, but if you have one, follow it and chase it and do it. Because if you copy someone who's already successful, your chances are way less.
You know, I'm glad you're saying that, but unfortunately, I think that's like in hip hop, that's not happening right now.
Yeah, I was literally about to say that. I think you can copy people, but you better be a way better version of that person.
See, I don't know much about hip hop.
But it's kind of like Facebook with MySpace. You know,
I mean,
Like, you can do what they do, but then you got to be something more and something a bit better.
But
There's
the best,
so many people like that. Young Thug sounds like Lil Wayne. He's killing it.
right? But he's, well, I don't. That's a strong. Killing it is a strong word because But well, I'm just gonna say though, even with hip hop, the artists that are transcending and mixing genres that are above that are way above the formulaic. Travis Scott. Obviously, Kanye West, Drake on a good day.
Yeah.
These are not.
They're
all
like the
people-
elevated versions of
That's
the
art.
people that they grew up listening to. If you listen to Travis Scott stuff, you can totally hear the Kanye influences on every track because he grew up listening and idolizing that guy.
Yeah.
But he made a whole different version. He sounds like the new modern Kanye.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
self-actualization. But yeah. I mean, I think I kind of already answered mine.
well, I think that what we're trying to do with our musical is that, yeah, Hamilton's been created. Actually, we had the idea even before Hamilton was around. You know, our idea was to try to get something that would be musical, but it would allow us to kind of do it regardless of whether we were able to pick up singing or a particular skill set.
Well,
And
I
what
think
we
with the
wanna do
musical is like, I came out of that musical and I was like, well, we're not trying to play their game. We're trying to play our own game, but we'll see the skills. It's like Kobe watching Tom Brady or something. It's like we're gonna see what's great about this and appreciate the athleticism.
Yeah. By the way, Lin-Manuel Miranda is a genius. First of all, throw that out there.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a genius. I first saw In the Heights.
Yeah,
and,
man.
And I spent so much time of my life in Washington Heights. So it's based on Washington Heights. So first of all, he's a genius for that. Second, Hamilton has been incredible. So I think that there's elements there that obviously we can learn from so much. You know, this is a completely different, not just musical, but just even musically, we can't do anything even remotely close to what he did.
they opened up a lane for us. So like the rap inside infused in musicals, I've never heard of that or heard of it.
Was a musical sound too. Classic piano, guitar, violin, old school drums. Whereas we're more contemporary. We're going after that more contemporary beat. We have synths. We got different kinds of instruments, different kinds of rap, newer sound, more contemporary story and people. Still a true story, but actually the people of the story involved with the process. And I think it really has never been done before. It's kind of like follows TyDi's route at the same time, and we're innovating on the things that work. I had this idea for this musical even before I came up with Hamilton. This is an idea I've had for a long time, following musicals myself. There's been two things I always thought would be really cool when I was a kid. One, to have a crazy themed hotel, and the other to have a crazy themed musical. Those are things I've had ever since I was a kid.
What was your favorite musical before you saw Hamilton?
It was Wicked. I loved Wicked.
Wicked is amazing, but I'm gonna throw that out there so he knows. You gotta watch Paramore.
I saved it on my to-do list. It's the Cirque du
we
Soleil
have
one
to
in
watch
New York.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean that's meaning what we saw already, and then Paramore, and what your company is, and then the music that we can make, that combination of all those things can create something really special.
Cool. Well, I do like the Cirque du Soleil element. Living in Vegas, it's kind of lucky for me to be able to see pretty much the best Cirque du Soleil in the world.
Yeah.
Any day I want. You know?
Wow.
And so I love that. So I've seen all the shows, but whenever there's a new show, like Avatar will come around for a week, I'll check that out. Or Spider-Man will do a few weeks performance, I'll check that out. Just things like that.
Can I make a question for everyone?
Sure.
So when you guys start a track, what's the very first thing you start with? If you're gonna sit down on the computer, assuming we all use computers to start, but let's assume you all start on a computer. What would be the very first thing you do when you start a song, if you're feeling inspired?
Melody.
Chords, yeah.
I usually start with the melodies. Either I'll go with chords, or I'll do like an arpeggiated thing that I build chords on. Kind of just melody. I always start with the melody.
Melody for you.
Melody
All right,
first.
let's go. I want to know what
It's
everyone.
weird because it seems like common sense to do the melody, which
Yep.
is what I do. I do the melody, like I'll start with the melody where it's like, you know, like different chords, and then I'll do kind of like a solo or a lead sound on top of that, and I'll do 3 of those total, and then I'll add the bass to it next, and then the drums, and get it going. But I've seen people like Kashmir do it backwards, where they start with the bass.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting because it's opposite of what I do, and I can't think that way, but you know, everyone thinks different.
Well, is he using the bass as the chords though?
He starts with the bass. I saw this video on, I think it was Facebook or something, but he starts with the bass line, which is I've never seen before.
Depends. Is he doing an instrumental or is it vocal?
No, it's, I don't know. You know Kashmir, you know. he
Yeah.
does
But I mean,
heavy EDM, epic drops.
if I was starting a song that didn't have a vocal, then I would start with a bass and a kick, because that's the balls of the song. You know, I'd want to give it the coolest bass and the coolest percussion. But
coolest
if I was
balls.
doing it for a vocal song, I'd do it how you mentioned, and I'd start with chords, because the vocal melody is going to need to play off the chords.
Well, it depends too if it's like a remix or if it's a, you know, an original, because you know, if it's a remix, you already have, you know, all the midis for that, so you can work off it easier.
Well, let me say as a rapper, just because I'm more on the vocal end, you know, you guys are, I would say it's about 70 to 30 that I write the verse first. Occasionally I'll get that chorus, especially now that Drake is in the game. You kind of want to lead more chorus heavy than you probably did. But usually I'll start with the first line or two.
That's cool.
And if I can get the flow right on the first couple of lines, it usually flows well. But also because instrumentals have changed so much in the last 10 years, you know, when you're writing raps 10 years ago, it's loops. So I can pretty much write the whole verse in one sitting and I'm done.
How has rap changed? I don't know a lot about rap, so I'm now throwing questions out. Cool. But how has rap changed from, say, back when I was like a little kid and liked Eminem to now? What's been the defining factors that's changed rap?
I'd say more recently the most defining factor is triplet flow, which is like ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. That's the most, that's become the norm, whereas quadruple 4/4 time was before the, yo, my name is Drew and I'm gonna do this shit. That's a 4/4 time, you do that shit, right? But now it's like da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da.
Yeah, okay.
So then two,
change.
yeah, I would say two,
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
2 would be melody, meaning rappers are singing now more.
They are?
Yeah, I mean, Kanye West has a full 808 album. Drake sings about 60% of his
I've
time.
noticed too, like,
You know,
even
Travis
if-
Scott, is that a rapper? Is that a singer? I don't know. He's awesome.
Even if there aren't triplets in the song, rappers still do the triplet rap.
Right.
Because, you know, sometimes the hi-hat will be like,
Right.
and it'll go in the triplets.
And
But
I'd
it's,
say
I hear
three.
rappers do it now
I
automatically.
say that's the mainstream thing, though. That's not like every mainstream rapper is doing the triplet thing. I would say.
Yeah, but at this point, like, it's
it is.
it's
all about
that
the
common.
16th.
I mean, there's one or two, like J. Cole. that hit
yeah, J. Cole's probably the only
Dude,
one.
not all those people are doing triplets.
Everybody.
Nah, dude, Gucci
Kendrick
Mane
is
is not
doing
doing it.
triplets now.
Gucci Mane's not
Anyway,
doing it.
Future. Those are probably,
Nah,
Yes, he is, bro.
yeah, they're all doing
Everybody.
triplets.
Man, Purps.
maybe a little bit.
I don't know what's the most.
It's this vegan diet, man. It's messing with us.
Here's
Yeah.
what I know.
If you
I'm
can't
doing
do
more
it-
pop records and R&B and of course Latin music because I'm leaving the hip hop to my man right here and to guys like you guys. You know, hip hop is my first love, but I think my thing is definitely pop records, some rock. You know, like epic, stadium. You know, Katy Perry-ish. You know, that kind of record. That's what I'm working on. Right. So to answer the question, it depends. It depends. Sometimes a beautiful melody begins on the guitar. Sometimes it's the chords, and then I add the strings. I'm a strings kind of guy, and I love orchestrational stuff. So I layer some of the cellos and the violins and all that stuff on top of stuff. But definitely 100% melody, of course. But then again, sometimes the hip hop thing comes out, and then I got to start with the with the 808s.
I mean, sometimes too, I start with the drums where I have the hi-hats and snare going, and when I'm making the chords, it'll throw me. It all depends, 'cause sometimes I'll make a song, and I'll be like, man, these chords suck, so I'll delete them all, and I'll have the drums still going like boom, and then I'll start doing chords that, and then but those two ways are the best ways I've made some of my best songs.
You know what I noticed, that if I start with the beat first, then my runs on the keys are more complicated for some reason.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Every time I start drums, it sounds like a Neptune's track where it's very percussive sounding, and I start thinking of more of the drums as the instrument.
Right.
Because I'm very I honestly no offense, but I don't really listen to lyrics that much. I'm more
offended.
Shit.
I'm a more musical person. I like the textures of music.
Musical? Pause.
but it's like I listen to the layers and the chord structures of everything, and when I listen to a song, that's what I'm listening to first, of how that's carrying along, and then I'm like, okay, yeah, the vocals obviously have to go along with it.
I'm the story. I'm all about the story.
Yeah.
I want to take you on a journey.
Well, they both have to go in.
I'm gonna throw something weird in here, and that's that lately I've been deciding not to use tempo. So instead of having a metronome or anything, I just like to play stuff in, and then add in, see, like a
See
where the tempo is?
You mean the metronome?
Yeah, so songs are at 128 or 120 or whatever, right? So because I'm into scoring right now and just making beautiful music, I'm really enjoying playing in a melody, and it's called rubato, where the tempo changes. Yeah. So I'll be just playing something in, and I might increase in tempo, and then I'll just write a violin line in, write a cello line in, and you'll find the tempo sways, and then afterwards, then I draw the dots in and I tempo map it. And then I realize the song doesn't have a tempo. It actually moves around like this.
All right, guys, so we got to meet up with Matt, Steph, and Nina. One of the things that I want to, one quick last question. So I'm interested in learning both the rap, the hip hop dance, the lyrics, all that stuff. If you could learn one skill that you believe that would help you as an artist.
Stripping.
Stripping. What's yours?
Painting.
You mean music?
And as an artist.
Yeah, I think I'm learning full theory and shit like that. That's what I'm on now.
Okay.
Other genres, figuring out other textures and stuff like that.
I jumped into my answer way too quick.
Get out of your comfort zone and produce what you feel, and then try to inquire it in modern sound, modern stuff.
Okay. What skill would you learn?
What skill would I learn? Oh, is that the question?
Yeah.
Shit. What skill would I learn? Probably piano.
Piano.
Piano, yeah. So that's the
financing.
Financing. That's a good skill. That's a good one. All right.
Hey, I need to hire you, man.
So let's head over to Matt, Steph, and Nina's, yeah?
Yeah, vodka.
All right, cool.